We face challenges every day, and we can choose to overcome them or succumb to the overwhelming pressures. People who understand having a positive mindset and breaking down roadblocks are the type of people who use methods like mind maps to take charge of their challenges. In this episode of the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, we're going to break down 5 challenges you may be facing and how you can fix them using mind maps. Right about now, you are listening to the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, a show where we discuss living as a leader worth following, leading others to do the same, and in doing so, leaving a legacy for future generations. My name is Jimmy Gonzalez Jr., a learning and development professional and leadership coach, sitting down with my co-host Anthony Devon Watts Jr., an expert contact center leader that has effectively led and developed dynamic teams with high motivation. Together, we have over 30 years experience in the corporate game. Join us as we discuss our growth as leaders, share the lessons we've learned, and interview others to see how their leadership style was shaped as they were mentored by adversity. Legacy leaders, welcome back to the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, presented to you by the Legacy Leadership Learning Group. Remember, this is a show where we teach you what it takes to live as a leader worth following, how to lead others to do the same, and in doing so, leave a legacy for generations to come. I am Coach Jimmy G. Jr., along with my co-host, Devon Watts Jr.
What's going on, leaders?
Yes, sir. For our folks out there, if you are new, or if you're one of our loyal listeners, please feel free to rate and review this podcast. We definitely would appreciate that very much. And if you're watching on YouTube, we'd love for you to like the video and also subscribe to the channel. And make sure that if you know that this episode in particular and all of our episodes and just what we provide in the Legacy and Leadership Podcast would add value to someone else, then please share it so they can benefit from this as well. We are excited to be back with our legacy leaders. A lot of great things have been going on throughout this whole year, definitely the month of January. February was also a very big month for us. We tied everything up with our last couple of episodes and really going through that whole series of relentless drive and talking about grit and resilience, and then had some wonderful conversations with Shannon Martin, who is the director of communications for Podbean. Shout out to Podbeam as well. We're excited just about some of the kind of the recognition that we've been able to get from the platform that we utilize for our podcast. So be on the lookout as well as this episode is dropping. If you're a user of the Podbeam app, you'll also be able to see us highlighted within that top banner as well. So again, show us some love there. Make sure that you like the episode, like and follow the Legacy in Leadership Podcast on Podbeam as well. Coming at you every Wednesday with a new episode. Again, trying to teach you guys up as we go through these different concepts and topics. So be on the lookout as well. Again, the month of February was all about grit and resilience under the umbrella of relentless drive. So we mentioned to you guys our Focus for Success e-learning course that dropped in January. The next piece of content that we're excited about is going to be Relentless Drive. That's going to be coming out really, really soon. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But the month of March, we're very excited about as well, because it's going to be all about mind mapping secrets and really helping you to unlock your brain's potential using that ultimate thinking tool that we have, our brain and our mind, and help you really harness that genius that is within you. Mind mapping is a concept that I was introduced to about 12 years ago. We had a coworker that we were having a conversation about at that point starting Trinity Fitness and some of the things that we were doing with my personal training business, and she said, hey, you should look at mind mapping this out as you strategize all of the different kind of pieces that you really need to think about in order to start and establish this gym. And I was like, so what is mind mapping? And we just sat down, got out the pen and the pad and started going through this process, and it really just opened up my eyes to the thoughtfulness of the process, the strategy behind the process, but also just the creativity and kind of the free flowing thought that you have, and that ability and the creativeness that you can use in building out a mind map, and just what that means for your focus. So if you've never really heard about the concept or maybe taken a deep dive or used mind mapping before, modern mind mapping has been shown to be very effective, again, helping people to get their creative thoughts out of their head and in a form that really makes it easy to tackle such topics as organization, creative thinking, again, problem solving. And it really is a way for you to see information in a different way, especially when you start adding colors and pictures and drawing, and again, really allow those creative juices to kind of flow. It's just amazing how often it just leads to more focus within your mind. So that's what we got in store for you guys. Again, for the whole month of March, we're going to be starting today, as promised, with 5 challenges that mind mapping can help you to overcome. And then we'll get into, obviously, those different 5 points within this episode. But again, throughout the month of March, we'll have more for you as well on this particular topic. So I hope you guys are excited about that, because Devon and I are excited about this topic and the conversations that we're going to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very rare that you find a tool or a strategy that allows you to solve a problem on both ends of the spectrum, right? Because I can say me personally, as a fairly creative individual, and I'm pretty sure that our listeners can relate to this. You find yourself either on one extreme where you have an abundance of creative thought and ideas, like they're flowing, right? And it's almost hard to get your hands around it. And so mind mapping can be an extremely effective tool of, like you called out, being able to refine your focus, being able to get those thoughts committed to paper to kind of eliminate some of the noise and allow you to really organize it so you can execute. Mm-hmm. Or you've been on the other end of the spectrum where you feel like you just have like writer's block, creative block. You can't think of a viable solution. And that's oftentimes because we think so linearly when we're in execution mode, right? And from a creative solution mode, we need to think more free form. And so mind mapping can also be an effective tool in order to do that. And so I'm definitely excited about what we have planned for March for our Legacy Leader community. We actually started off our first Cold Brew and Convo episode for the month of March, tackling mind mapping specifically, where we just demonstrated at a high level how mind mapping works around the concept of employee engagement. So if you have some interest in that, please make sure that you check it out. The episode is up on our YouTube channel, so you can find it under the Legacy Learning with Legacy Leadership learning group, right? So you can peep that. But yeah, I'm kind of reminded, and the time is appropriate because I'm reminded of the saying. I'm pretty sure you all have heard this. March comes in like a lion and out like a lamb. Right, and I just think about how appropriate that is for mind mapping, because I think coming into this, right, our thoughts and kind of the chaos and the disorganization is like a wild lion, and just loud and intimidating and just daunting, right? Maybe even our thoughts can be overly aggressive with just kind of how the creativity is flowing. And so our goal is, while March may start that way because we haven't learned about mind mapping, once you understand and you master mind mapping, that you can end March out like a lamb, a lot much more focused, a lot much quiet some of that noise, and just being able to execute at a high level. So I'm really, really excited to get into these topics. I think I was actually sharing with you too, and our listeners can appreciate this because I have random thoughts, but when I think about mind mapping specifically, like I think about Denzel Washington and The Equalizer, and I just love that movie. I know that they made it a show actually here recently,
with Queen Latifah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
I watched the first episode, and I haven't watched any other episodes.
Yeah, she just doesn't have that same type of sauce. Like I don't think Queen Latifah's gonna like punch me in the face. You know what I mean? Like Denzel, like his character, like read a book and then like punch you in the face and then get back to reading the book. Like that was like really, really engaging, right? So I'm gonna stick to the movies, not necessarily a TV show. But it reminds me of Denzel Washington and Equalizer, because for our listeners that recall, like when he walked into a situation, in his mind he started playing out every single scenario, right? What actions to take, what could potentially happen in response, right? He would assess it based off of that. have a time assessment of what it would take in order for him to execute. And then we, the audience, would get the benefit of seeing him execute at a high level of kicking butt, right? That naturally made me think about mind mapping, because that's a lot like what mind mapping is, right? Now, obviously, that's exaggerated in terms of how instantaneous it is, but to be able to walk into a situation, gather your thoughts, free form, think about all the potential possibilities, all the scenarios, right? Then discern from that, what would it take in order to execute on these things, and then be able to execute. Like, if our goal is to get our listeners to that point where you are the equalizer in your organization, you are the equalizer with your business when it comes to execution, because you've mastered mind mapping and that you can execute just like Denzel did. So that's going to be the goal, get you to the point where you're an equalizer by the end of the month of March.
And we have some different ways that we're going to help you to do that. So not just with the episodes, but all of this is going to be leading up to the next challenge. The first challenge that we facilitated as a duo was our 21-day focus challenge in the month of December, closing out 2020. But our next challenge, and first for 2021, is going to be just that. It's going to be a 14-day mind mapping challenge that will, again, come off of the heels of this series of episodes that we're going to be doing through the month of March. So be on the lookout. We'll have more details for you in regards to that. But you're not going to want to miss that, especially, again, if this is a concept that you really want to dive more into and practically go through some exercises and activities that are going to help you to dial in more on this concept and this skill, not just a concept, but the skill of mind mapping. Yeah, man, and it's been super effective. I like what you said about, just the visualization portion and being able to see these different ideas and these different thoughts and how you put that down on paper, but then again, now you start to move to take action. And I've used it in a number of ways over the last several years. Even most recently, I was telling you the story about helping my sister set goals in January for quarter one, and she was looking to set goals for her direct marketing, relationship marketing business that she has, and we started there. I said, all right, so we know the goal that you have for yourself at the end of this quarter. I forgot the title, but whatever that next step that she was getting to. And so that was the center. And then we started to mind map, all of these different things that she would need to work on in order to help her get to that particular point. So I do really love using it for coaching. I love using it for meetings as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But yeah, a number of different ways that you can utilize mind mapping to help you just lock in, focus, and then execute on the things that you're trying to execute on. So as we mentioned, we have five different areas that you're going to come across that you may be struggling with that mind mapping can help you out with. First one is going to be all about setting daily goals, helping you to make your meeting count. Stop the information overload. Sometimes it's just too much information coming at you at one time. And then how to be a top presenter using mind mapping, and then decision making, right? Decision making made easy, and how you can really use mind mapping to help you through that process. So we're going to dive right into it, starting with number one, and Devon's going to take that one away for us.
Absolutely. So I love the fact that you shared your practical example of most recently using mind mapping with goal setting for your sister, because that's one of the main areas that mind mapping can actually really, really be effective at helping you out, is getting to the point where you are able to rock your daily goals consistently. And the reason why we say that is because it can be super easy to lose focus of your goals and to steer in different directions. I mean, just think about the litany of stuff that we are inundated with, exposed to, the fire drills, the changes in circumstances, the unknowns that come up, right? And so it's very easy, if you're not consistently focused, organized, or centered, to get knocked off of your momentum, to get knocked off your pivot, and lose momentum towards the goal that you're trying to accomplish. So mind mapping can be an extremely effective tool in overcoming some of those challenges, right? Mind maps can help you overcome being pulled in different directions, especially if you're reviewing them daily, not just as a visualization tool, but also as a guidepost of being able to take action. And that's because a good mind map, if it's done correctly, again, we'll be breaking down the tactical component of it over the month of March. So if this interests you and you want to know exactly how you can execute on this, continue to follow us. But at the end of the day, a good mind map contains not just your long-term goals, but it also contains a lot of those short-term tangible goals with actions around them, so that can keep you focused on the steps you need to take in order to deliver on that long-term goal, right? By viewing your short-term goals daily, you can make mental connections on how to achieve those short-term goals with a lot of confidence, and that will lead to completion of your long-term goals at the end of the day. Now, we've broken down a wealth of goal setting techniques and methods. If you are interested in refining that, there's a couple different places you can go back and revisit those concepts. You can listen to a couple of our podcast episodes where we talk about goal setting, effective goal setting for yourself and your team. You can also make the investment in yourself and enrich yourself, and purchase our Focus for Success course, which breaks down not just time management and distraction diffusion, but also gets into how to set goals effectively based off of your personality makeup and your leadership makeup as well. Right, but a very focused mind map structure ties into that goal setting process. Right, as you're setting your goals, then being able to say, okay, now that I know what my goals are, that's going to be the major idea that's in that middle bubble, right? And then now, what are all the things that need to occur in order to get me to that long-term goal? And then you continue to break those down and branch them out until they are tangible, actionable steps that you can take every single day. So again, with the mind map, everything is in one place. It's at a glance. You can be motivated to work on your short-term goals right away because you can see what you're working towards. And since there will be images, right, because Jimmy talked about this, once you really embrace the mind mapping process and you're incorporating colors and pictures and things like that, right, those images will actually stimulate you mentally to help find ways to stay on track to accomplish those goals. So again, mind mapping is just an extremely effective tool when it comes to rocking your goals daily.
Yeah, and definitely a long-term goals. But what I appreciate is there's a mind mapping expert that you and I have talked about that I've been following on Facebook, and even it was yesterday. She posted just that, like it was a little sticky pad, and it was a little tiny mind map picture that she wrote on a sticky note, but that was her goal setting for the day. And again, it's when you really just allow yourself to be creative with it and use it for those type of things, it's just phenomenal how much more focused you can be, and just like you said, energized and just excited about what you're trying to accomplish, because it takes it one step further. It's not just necessarily a checklist or my goals written out, but now I'm going through that creative process and drawing things out and putting pictures and symbols to it, using colors, which just again sparks the brain, wakes yourself up, especially if you're doing something like that at the beginning of your day. So definitely I appreciate what you just broke down, because it's an awesome way to use mind mapping is to help rock your daily goals for sure. So as we get into number 2, the second piece is making your meetings count. I remember within the call center, the first time that I really introduced mind mapping to the team, and we had a project that we were working on. So using it in team meetings to help your team visualize and see things in a different way and really help kind of some of those brainstorming sessions, but also using it to make sure that your meeting doesn't go off track, right? There might be some elements that you may forget as you're kind of going through that if you don't have a well written out outline or agenda, and you want to make sure that you're meeting your goals and your objectives for that meeting. So by using a mind map, you can really organize your thoughts and make different connections to other related topics, which may not have necessarily occurred to you if you weren't using this particular method. Meetings that are planned and delivered via a mind map, it really helps to keep the team engaged as everything continues to drill down really in a logical form and is delivered in short key words, but then also in images. And for creative people in general, but also if you're in that learning and development space and you're an educator, it really is a fun way, again, to help take your team through a meeting for brainstorming sessions, but also just to help you keep on track and making sure that you're really diving deep into the topic that you have set for that particular meeting.
Yeah, what I like that you called out, and I've been able to use it myself a couple of times, is it's really great for collaborative problem solving, with your team, especially as you maybe set goals for the year, your roadmap for the year. It's very easy at times to find the super sexy slogan or the big thing that you're going to be working towards. But then when it comes down to the meat and potatoes of, okay, well, how are we going to actually execute on this if this is our 12-month roadmap? So what's the first step in the journey starting next week? Right, that mind mapping activity can be an extremely effective tool for the team, and also not constrain folks to, again, like I said, just kind of that linear thought, right? Just you need free-form thoughts and free-form ideas. I've been fortunate enough to actually see you leverage that with your team on a couple of occasions, and I've been able to do the same, with my teams. Again, it continues to be a tremendously effective tool for really getting the most out of those type of meetings, those type of strategy meetings, where you're really trying to lay the foundation for what we're going to be tackling, starting the next day.
And really quick, what I would say too is, some of those examples, literally in a room with a whiteboard. If you know Devon and myself, you know that we love whiteboards, especially really big ones where we can just really do some damage and take advantage of the real estate that we have.
Yeah, sure.
But there's plenty of technology out there. There's apps, even if you're using, some type of website or application that allows you to use a whiteboard, you can still do that virtually. If you're using Teams or Zoom or whatever it is that you're using for your business functions, again, you can virtually do these same type of things, and might not be able to get necessarily as creative, as opposed to you being able to draw something out, but you could always get pictures, from online and then copy and paste those pictures into the mind map itself. So you can still get the symbols, you can still get icons, you can still get pictures using different colors and shapes to really build out that mind map, even in a virtual setting and a virtual meeting as well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well said. Like you said, Teams, Trello, just things like that, are also really effective tools. So, all right. So the third area that effective mind mapping can really help you overcome is stopping the information overload. Right. And we talked a little bit about this in the first one when I was just kind of sharing with you that at times we get over inundated with just things that are popping up. Right. And not all the time is it fires. Not all the time is it some unexpected initiative or, an ask from a cross-functional partner on a data. Sometimes it's just you're getting too much information, and that information overload can cause just a number of issues when it comes to focusing and being able to execute. It can cause you to be stressed out. It can cause anxiety. In some instances, depending on if you don't like the results that you're seeing, it could cause even some mild depression. I know that there's been plenty of times where I've gotten a sales report and the close rate did not look good, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to explain this. Oh man, this one hurts, right? And so in a busy workplace, the reality is that we're taking in vast amounts of information on the regular. As technology continues to improve, as the importance of data continues to improve. Everything from Tableau reporting and data tables and getting granular down to customer segmentation, speech to text analytics, call capture, marketing slices, like you name SEO data, like you name it. As the space of data and technology continues to grow and innovate, that means that we have more information at our disposal, and sometimes it can be overwhelming to process it all and process all the complex information. And while there's a lot of maybe really value-added nuggets, right, sometimes that information overload puts us in a state of analysis paralysis, and we're just not ready to execute because we're waiting for the next report, and we're saying, okay, well, this one says this, but let me go and analyze this one, right? And so this may overload your brain. And so being able to use a mind map And the idea of using keywords rather than long sentences, even using images to convey information, can be a really, really effective tool to help stop the information overload. Mind maps are traditionally like single page. They're made of keywords, images, brief notes, but it's not long expository paragraphs or anything like that. And again, you can attach these notes to various branches, and there's no searching around for like a lot of the data that's related to it. Like everything is all in one spot, and that simplicity can be an effective tool in being able to help you take action, right? Take action and be able to execute. And so you can quickly make connections between different facts, ideas, and topics, which gets your brain working and in what we call a flow state. And I know you've all heard us mention this before when we talked about meditation for success. If you haven't checked out that episode, we actually have a meditation track that we put together for our legacy leaders that allows your mind to get into the flow state, right? But that's really what we're talking about, is getting you to a flow state where you're not stymied by information, you're taking action, you're executing, you're processing, and you're making decisions, and you're working towards your goals. So mind maps can be an effective way of stopping the information overload, keeping you anchored to what your goals are, right? Keeping it simple, and by keeping it simple and honing it in, you're able to refine your focus and begin to execute immediately.
Yeah, I love the breakdown. It reminds me another coaching session I had. This was probably about 6 months ago with one of our younger leaders within the ministry at church. And, all of us, right, where our ability to handle, different and varying amounts of information, right, it's going to be different for all of us. And again, had specific goals and was trying to really, how do I take all of these responsibilities that I have and try to execute and get done what I need to get done on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. And it's just, at this point, I guess it's just natural for me. I said, all right, we have a big whiteboard. We're going to get together and let's start mind mapping this out, right? So it definitely gives it a way to take, like you said, all those kind of complex ideas and information and really start to whittle it down. And I know it was very helpful for him, within that coaching session that we had, because it says, okay, I know that there's a lot, but, even what are the kind of the two priorities that we have, and let's just focus on those and then start branching out, from that main goal he has, but these are the two priorities, and then start branching out the mind map from there. So yeah, definitely a great way to, again, to stop that information overload that you or somebody that you're coaching may have. So again, 5 different things that we have for you when it comes to, just struggles that you may have, challenges that you may have, and how mind mapping can help you to overcome those. So we've already broken down 3 for you. We're going to get into the 4th one, which is, what if you want to be a top presenter? You want to be a fire facilitator and just a master of the stage or the virtual camera as you're presenting information. If you've ever watched somebody, and as facilitators ourselves, and I consider myself a master facilitator, there was definitely times where I wasn't as prepared as maybe I would have liked to be. But if you've ever watched an ill-prepared presentation, like, you just know how painful that is when the thoughts are not organized correctly. It's not succinct in how they're trying to relay information to you. So 2 different things that you can use mind mapping for if you find yourself as a facilitator doing a presentation, whether that's for school or within your business. Maybe you're an entrepreneur, small business owner, and you're making a presentation to your local chamber of commerce, or maybe you're looking for investors in your business and you're making these presentations. So the first thing is using the mind map, right, to start brainstorming ideas and just dump all of these ideas into your mind map on how you're going to structure the presentation, right? And what you really want to talk about, and how you're going to narrow down the main point, and then other topics and highlights that you want to make throughout the presentation. A mind map functionality really allows you to quickly sort and move, edit your presentation, and then really make it come alive. So one thing that you can do as a presenter is using mind map to really start to outline, very similar to kind of storyboarding if you're creating like a PowerPoint presentation. But even before you get to that point, using this mind mapping concept to really flesh out and outline the presentation itself. Now, the other piece about, being able to use mind maps in facilitation is just think about you using the mind map itself for your visual. So now that you've done it in preparation, I'm actually going to kind of, I have it cleaned up, and I'm going to use that same concept to actually facilitate the presentation itself. So again, maybe if I have a whiteboard or I have a flip chart or whatever you're using, but as I'm going through this talk, this presentation, this learning session, I'm actually going to be drawing out this mind map to help start to convey, not just through words, but also visually, these different concepts that I'm trying to teach and that I'm trying to convey to the audience. And as you're doing that, you're helping them to connect the dots and to make these connections within their mind. So not only are they hearing from you, but they're also seeing these visual components, again, come to life as you're making this presentation. So with color, with image usage, again, you really keep your audience participation alive and just full of discussion. If you haven't done it before, just like test this out and use this as just a different way to be able to convey information to your audience.
Yeah, man, I love that. There's a bunch of golden nuggets in there for our leaders that are in the learning space, and folks that are looking to refine their presentation skills, their pitch skills, things like that. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it comes down to preparation, and I think that's one of the added benefits of just the mind mapping exercises and mind mapping activities. It forces the preparation, right? It forces the preparation without the constraints of, oh man, I have to write out a bulleted, thesis paper. Okay, this is the main topic, and all right, I'm going to touch this first and this second and this third. Like, I love the fact that, where you started off was get all of the ideas out. Like, don't worry about trying to organize it through the mind map. First, let's just get it out. And then once you have all the ideas out and you find the ones that are really resonating with you that you want to incorporate into your presentation, then from there you can start to go through the process of organizing them in a way where there's a seamless flow to it and people can connect it, right? So I just really appreciate you kind of sharing those tips. And I've been on both ends of maximum preparedness when presenting and less than prepared, and been fortunate enough, to be blessed with the gift of gab to be able to muddle my way through it. But I could feel it. It was painful. I was like, oh man, I didn't really connect with people like I wanted to. So there's some really, really good tips there.
Been there and done that. So that's part of the process, right? You live and you learn, and you grow from those experiences along the way. So.
For sure. So we've already touched again on 4 of the areas that mind mapping can effectively help you overcome. Just a reminder for our legacy leaders that have been rocking with us to this point. We talked about rocking your goals daily, making your meetings count, stopping the information overload. You just heard Jimmy break down being a top presenter, and now we're going to land this plane with the 5th area that mind mapping can help you overcome, which is decision making. Making decision-making easy. So again, we kind of touched on this just a little bit when we were talking about information overload, but like information overload, a lot of us as leaders were faced with making difficult decisions every single day. I've actually shared that a couple of times, not just in this podcast, but with the folks that I've had the opportunity to mentor, that as you continue to grow and grow as a leader, what you're really being compensated for is not just your ability to execute, but your ability to make a difficult decision when others can't make difficult decisions, right? To be able to take in and process information and make the right call, and make the right call consistently as a leader to put people in a position to win, right? And so we're asked to flex that muscle and flex that skill constantly, every single day, meeting after meeting, moment after moment, and then even a non-organized meeting where people are hitting you up via chat and text and email asking for your input, right? And so mind map can be an effective tool to help you organize some of your decision-making thought process, right, by allowing you to start with your main problem and then develop a hierarchy of possible solutions,
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so this helps with the process of elimination by you entering keywords in kind of those sub branches. And again, if you're not 100% familiar with sub branches, don't worry. We're going to, again, ease you into this over the month of March. So you'll learn more about this. But again, you can start by entering keywords into those sub branches that are related to the problem. Right. And then your brain will start to sort through these and make connections that maybe you would not have made on paper if you were just thinking out loud. Right. Like if you were just writing these things out linearly or typing up the email, or if you were just thinking out loud, you may not have made some of these connections as to potential solutions or keywords that are associated with some of these solutions. Right. And so going through your mind map, will have you looking at the main issue from different angles, which in turn brings up those unique solutions. Again, we talked about how mind mapping can be that tool to kind of focus creative thought, right? If you have an abundance of creative ideas, it can also be the tool to spark creative thought if you feel like you're currently blocked from creative solution making, right? So making decisions becomes so much easier when you become a mind mapping professional, and you can really add this tool to your tool belt and your arsenal of organizing your decision making process by focusing on the main problem and then starting with a hierarchy of potential solutions and branching out from there.
Yeah, like what you said about, really becoming an expert as well. Again, as this is something that I've been utilizing for, as I mentioned, for several years. But as I continue to learn and dive into the topic even more, there's folks that are truly experts in mind mapping. There's even like mind mapping competitions and mind mapping championships. It's a form of coaching as well, and even really taking steps to at least get some basic kind of training on drawing. Some of us are better artists, right, than others. But when you even just start to kind of progress a little bit from kind of stick figures and stuff like that, it just allows the mind mapping process again to come alive and just really go to that next level. So you're talking about being an expert, being a professional. It is possible, but it starts with the beginning, right? And just kind of using it for some small concepts and some challenges that you may be faced with. And again, as we mentioned at the beginning, is how can you use mind mapping to help you with some of these challenges that you may have. So we hope that was definitely helpful for you and beneficial. Again, the 5 kind of challenges that we talked about was your daily goals and being able to rock those with mind mapping techniques, making sure that your meetings count and you're using this to run meetings, to do brainstorming sessions, and even just to as almost as an agenda format to keep yourself on track. Stopping that information overload, taking all this information and whittling it down so that you can focus even more. How to be a top presenter and facilitator to prepare for the facilitation, and then even get really fancy with it and utilize the mind mapping process in the facilitation itself, in the presentation, to allow that visual and allow the audience to participate and just allow that whole presentation to come alive. And then lastly, as Yvonne just broke down for us, decision making made easy and being able to help you go through that process as well. So there you have it, folks. Again, really breaking down these 5 challenges that mind mapping can help you to overcome. Really looking forward to the next couple of episodes that we have. The next one actually is going to be 3 main ways that consistent mind mapping will help you to build, maintain, and then elevate your business. So definitely be on the lookout for that next episode that we have coming up. You're not going to want to miss that. For all our legacy leaders out there, and just thank you for listening. We always appreciate you being with us, whether you're listening to the podcast, watching the vidcast. Again, we definitely appreciate your support. Show us some love, comment, like, and share. It costs you nothing but a click of the mouse and a couple of seconds of your time. We definitely appreciate the support and the love when you do that. And if you want to reach out to us, Devon mentioned, I appreciate that. That's my partner. He mentioned our cold brewing convos. We do that every Wednesday evening in the Legacy Leader group and the community within Facebook. So if you want to reach out to us, again, that's a perfect place to do so. If you haven't joined us there yet, and if you're on Facebook, there's really no reason for you not to. So many more resources that we have within that community. It's a small community, but it's an engaged community. We love the folks that we have in there, and we're just looking for more people like yourself that consider themselves a legacy leader, or you want to be. You really want to find out more and learn more skills and knowledge to live as a leader worth following, how to develop others to do the same, and then leave a legacy for future generations. So come over, check us out, spend some time with us in there. Again, you won't be disappointed. And then follow us on IG, on Instagram, and also on Twitter at Legacy Leadership. You can follow myself at Coach_Jimmy G Jr. and also follow Devon at Leadership Docent. Definitely find us as well on LinkedIn, Facebook, and of course on YouTube at Legacy in Leadership Podcast. All the different places that you can rock with us. You can follow us. You can join in on the conversation. So do that. Leave a comment. We definitely like to hear your thoughts on mind mapping. How have you used mind mapping to solve problems? In what areas of your life have you found mind mapping to be beneficial? We love to hear from you. So again, definitely leave us a comment. Any final words from my boy, Devon Watts Jr.?
No, man, just appreciate everybody's time and listening, and you plugged all the different places that you can connect with us. I mean, that's what we really love, man. We love the engagement. We love the conversations we're able to have with our legacy leaders about these topics because we're learners at heart, right? As much as we love to teach, we're learners at heart, and so we've definitely been able to pick up some great things along the way. So come join this community that is, more than... If I'm doing the math right, more than 1,500 people strong across all platforms, right? You're talking about our YouTube subscriber and viewers and listenership. If you're talking about folks that follow us in the Legacy Leader community, are part of that. I'm almost 200 strong there, over 300 on LinkedIn, over 170 strong on Podbean. And inching closer and closer by the day to 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube. We're building something, right? We're building something of like-minded people who are focused on, again, being a leader worth following, leading others to do the same, leaving a legacy for future generations. So come and join the movement.
Absolutely. So be on the lookout for the next episode. Again, 3 main ways consistent mind mapping will help you to build, maintain, and elevate your business. So until then, we appreciate y'all very much. God bless and stay encouraged.
Rage on that beat, going crazy.
You have just listened to the Legacy and Leadership Podcast, hosted by Jimmy Gonzalez and Devon Watts. Thank you, and we hope that you live, lead, and leave a legacy worth remembering. Until next time.